Hey guys, it's Amber. I'm back for CutCardStock and I'm creating a trendy tropical card with some Zentangle for card makers. This time I'm using the Zentangle pattern Leaflet. It's super easy to learn, so let's get started. I wanted to create a clean and simple one-layer card, and I wanted just a touch of Zentangle as the focal point. So I'm using a circle die to just trace a border for myself. That's going to help me stay within the lines and keep a pretty good circle, actually. I was surprised I didn't go outside of the lines more than I did. So I'm just using my grid mat and a ruler here to add some guidelines. I'm going to add some vertical lines that are half an inch apart from each other. Now, typically in Zentangle, you do not use a ruler, but seeing as I'm going to be giving this as a card, I wanted to kind of keep things a little bit precise, at least with the setup. So if you are a certified Zentangle teacher like I am, please forgive the ruler. I'm just going to do a guideline down the center with a pencil. So this pattern is all about S shapes. So the first step is add your vertical lines. The second step is you're going to create these wavy lines. Do the first one, and then you're going to mirror that in the next half-inch vertical space adjacent to it. And you'll just keep mirroring that same S shape that you have. You want to have one end come to a point so that it creates the leaf shape, and you can see that mine are not symmetrical at all. That's totally fine. You're not even going to be able to tell. Then I'm going to start on one of those vertical lines and create much smaller S shapes. So I come up from the vertical line and I move my way out to the outer edge of the leaf shape, creating an S. And so it's a very kind of flat S. There's just a slight curve to the beginning and the end of the stroke. And I'll just repeat that to complete this leaf shape. Now, I'm going to have all of my S shapes going in the same direction. So even though it looks like some of my leaves are maybe upside down, like the leaf that is below this, I'm still going to have all of my S shapes go in the same direction. So I'll show you that in the next step, and I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch me create all of them. But I did want to have some of them in regular time so that you could get used to the pattern. Now, if there is a leaf where I don't have a complete pattern, I will start the pattern on the line where I can create a complete stroke, and then I'll come back at the end and fill that in, and I'll show you what I mean in this last step. I'm going to slow it down again so that you can see what I mean, because all of these are pretty complete. Here you can see I started with the complete lines, and again I'm going to slow this down so that you can see it. So we've got mostly complete lines there, then I'll come back in at the bottom. Here's where I'm going to slow it down for you. So I'm going to do a complete line, so I'll start right there. I'll come all the way up with these complete lines, and then I'll circle back to the bottom of this leaf and fill it in. The reason I do this is because you kind of get a muscle memory thing going on with this stroke. So I'm going all the way up the line with the stroke. My hand kind of remembers the pattern of it. So then when I have to go down to the bottom and create a partial stroke, it's much easier to get that shape right. And I hope that makes sense. So here you can see these are pretty messy, you guys. They're not symmetrical. If you're new to Zentangle, you don't get stressed about whether or not things are symmetrical. Mine are not symmetrical at all, but now I'm going to color them in. If you didn't want to use color, you could also just shade them in like traditional Zentangle, but I wanted to color them in because I wanted this to have a tropical look and have that green look. So I have some yellow greens here. I have YG03, YG63, and YG67. I start off with a little bit of the YG03 just to wet the paper. I find that it's easier to blend markers in a larger space, like these leaves are kind of large. If you have a little bit of your lighter color down, then you add your darker color and then your mid-tone. It's kind of like, I compare it to a watercolor with a wet on wet technique. It's a bit easier to blend your colors on the paper if your paper's wet with either a little bit of water or some other pigments. Doing a wet on dry technique, your pigment is going to absorb right into that paper, and it's going to be a little bit harder to move and blend. So for large areas like this, I'll start with a little bit of the lighter color, then come in with my dark and my midtone, and then blend it out more with the lighter color. And so I'll show you this one leaf in real time, and then we'll speed this up. And I won't show you all the leaves because it is pretty much the same. But this just gives you an idea of how I color these in. Now, my goal is to have the bottom of the leaf darker than the top of the leaf. That way, once you have all of this pattern complete, there's going to be a high contrast between the top and the bottom. The reason I did that is because the bottom half of the leaf is going to be adjacent to the top half of another leaf. And so you'll have that contrast difference, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute when these leaves are done. So here you can see the finished circle, and you can see that high contrast. Now this is a metallic paper, so if you haven't colored on metallic paper before, it's pretty fun, and it has a unique look to it because the Copic markers are transparent. You can see that metallic shine through your coloring, which is just so beautiful in person. The video just does not even do it justice, nor do the photos. Here I've created a sentiment strip, and this is from an Altenew set. I'll have the supplies linked down below, you guys, so that you can check out the paper, the stamp set, and what have you if you're interested in that. And before I adhered this down, what I should have done is add the shadow to the circle. So after I got this down, I realized, oh, I really should add a shadow to this. So you can see it's almost a one layer card aside from that sentiment strip. If you wanted it to be a complete one layer card, you could actually color in a black rectangle and then stamp on top of that colored area. I thought it'd be much easier just to do a sentiment strip. So here I added a little bit of just regular pencil. That's a normal household pencil. Just put a little graphite down around the outer edge of your circle, and go ahead and use a paper stump or a tortillon to just blend that out. Super easy to do. If you don't have a blending stump, you could maybe use a Q-tip. But I love a tortillon or a blending stump because it comes to that point, makes it much easier to do your detail work with the shadows. So here you can see that drop shadow all around, which pops up that leaf medallion so beautifully. Again, this pattern is called Leaflet, and it was developed by Helen Williams. I'll have a link to her step outs down below so you can check that out if you're interested. I hope you enjoyed this project today and will give it a try. I'll put a link at the end to my Zentangle playlist in case you're interested in more inspiration. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and ringing that bell so you don't miss any new inspiration. Here's a couple more videos for you before you leave, and I'll see you real soon.